Welcome back to this week's Ohio Tech Report. It's another exciting week for our state. A ton going on, and this week we are joined by Spencer Gross from Highbridge Consulting, who also helps Ohio X out a ton with our public policy efforts. But Spencer, thanks for being here. Share a little bit about yourself, what you and the team at Highbridge are up to.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. Spencer Gross, I'm a partner at Highbridge Consulting. We're a multi-client lobbying and strategic communications firm here in Columbus. Lots going on in the state, as you mentioned, so let's dive right into it.
Cool. Well, so before we begin, we do have to mention that the Ohio Tech Report is presented and sponsored by ZIN. We're appreciative for them for making this possible, and every week getting to highlight different companies and share the news and all the excitement happening in the state. So ZIN was built upon a simple idea: make customer service software that's easy to use and accessible to everyone. Their customer service and engagement products are powerful and flexible and scaled to meet the needs of any business. They serve businesses across hundreds of industries with more than 145,000 paid customer accounts, offering service and support in more than 30 languages. Zendesk is headquartered in San Francisco, and they operate worldwide. If you want to learn more about Zendesk, go to www.zendesk.com. We've also tagged them, and as they say, the best customer experiences, are built with Zendesk. So Spencer, we're going to dive into it now. The first story is two Northeastern Ohio companies. They got some state tax credit, so right up your alley in the work you're doing. And they're going to add a total of 200 jobs, and these are tech companies, I should say. The first one is ZIN Technologies, a provider of advanced engineering and product development services for NASA, the U.S. Department of Defense, and private industry. They announced that they're going to add 125 positions. And then Axuall, which is a great Ohio X member, and an IT software company that provides workforce intelligence and digital credentialing in the healthcare industry, plans to add 75 jobs. And so Axuall, since we know them, Spencer, a little more intimately, and that Charlie and their whole team, Jeffrey included, they've been doing a lot. And it's really cool to see that one because 75 jobs is a ton. And
Yeah,
we've been following them since they were just a couple team members building this big idea. But it's really cool to see the growth. And this, is just an example of more jobs coming to Cleveland.
totally. Ohio's on such a roll. I think we sometimes get it blown out of proportion with the Intel announcement and the thousands of jobs. As you mentioned, 75 jobs to an area is a ton of jobs. So a great story.
Yeah, it really is. And so the next one is kind of another space within the tech sector that it's been really fun to watch, the growth and the momentum here. This is EV batteries, electric vehicle batteries. And so this is one around how state officials are hoping that an EV battery company is actually going to bring 1,200 new jobs to Sydney, Ohio. And this is SimCorp Manufacturing. They could bring 1,199 full-time positions as reported in the Dayton Daily News, which would generate $73 million in annual payroll. And so right now we're competing with them on this. And this is something that looks like we're going up against Texas, but I flagged this one because we recently talked about another EV related company coming to Central Ohio. And of course, there's a ton going on in the Mahoning Valley up in Northeastern Ohio in the Youngstown area with Voltage Valley, as they're calling it. And so this is another where I love when we're connecting tech and like these innovative companies and products with the future and manufacturing. And it's kind of melds what Ohio's been good at historically, Spencer, but puts this kind of tech and innovation spin on it.
Perfectly said. Ohio is really well positioned in the world to be a leader in the EV space. Our manufacturing base, our history of automotive manufacturing, and as you said, now we are working to become the tech hub of the Midwest. This is a perfect synergy, and we're in a great spot.
Yeah, Silicon Heartland. And so the third and final one, which will be a good segue into some updates and what's happening in downtown Columbus, is that the latest round of TechCred ended this week. But we're talking about it for a couple of reasons. One is this comes up about every other month, and TechCred helps Ohioans learn new skills and employers build a stronger workforce with the skills needed in a tech-infused economy. And so basically, it's a great reimbursement tool where a company can help some of their workers get reskilled and upskilled with a tech focus. They get reimbursed by the state, and so they're eligible for that reimbursement upon credential completion. And if anyone goes to techcred.ohio.gov, you can learn about it. Stay tuned because the next round will be coming up soon, I know. But Spencer, this is kind of a big one around a lot of the workforce development that you're seeing down at the state house and in state government, making sure that our tech companies are getting the employees, the workers that they need to grow and keep building.
Absolutely. Workforce development's been such a hot issue for a number of years, and this is a really innovative approach to keeping workers and actually upskilling workers within their own industry sectors. So, kudos to everyone that's involved in this program and keeping it alive and pushing it. We've got to keep this going. It's a phenomenal program and something that's great for the state.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's kind of a good segue. And Spencer, would love some updates. And I know it's changing by the minute, it seems like, but there's a lot happening at the State House. So this week, last week in March, heading into April, what's going on? What are you keeping an eye on?
So I would say the majority of the bandwidth at the State House right now is tied up in redistricting. This has been quite a process for folks that have been maybe paying a little bit of attention. I'll give a very, very high level overview. And if I get confused, please forgive me because it's been quite a confusing process. So a few years ago, voters passed a ballot initiative to create something called the Ohio Redistricting Commission, which would take typically a partisan kind of map drawing process out of the hands of the legislature and put it in the hands of a bipartisan commission. So this commission is made up of legislative leaders, members of the executive branch. And so their task is to really draw maps and get bipartisan support. So if they get bipartisan support for the maps, congressional and state house, they get to stay in place for 10 years. If not, they're only in place for 4 years. And the thought process on that is you're incentivized to work together to create a long-term map. One, so you're not having to do this all over again. And two, it sort of inoculates you from the political whims of, however the state may be in 4 years. If you're the majority party, you don't know that you're going to be popular in 4 years. So you're incentivized to create a 10-year map. Well, the Redistricting Commission has done one map that was struck down, the congressional and state house maps, by the Supreme Court, who ultimately has to validate those maps once they're drawn. They went around a second time. Both maps invalidated, state house and congressional maps. Went around a third time, at which point, they thought maybe this could be fixed. It was still only passed along party lines, so we're only talking about a 4-year map. But the state house maps were invalidated at that point, and the congressional maps, it appears, at least for now, are going to be safe and in place for the primary, which is currently scheduled on May 3rd. At this point, a group sued the state in order to keep those the third round maps. And as we speak right now, there's a 3-judge panel at the federal level that's sort of talking about this with folks who have been involved in the process and folks at the Secretary of State's office. The legislature hired for this 4th round a pair of bipartisan consultants to draw the maps. They were sort of unable to come up with something in an allotted time frame. And so the legislature, kind of led by the majority party at this point on the Redistricting Commission, has passed a 4th version, which was only, along party lines. And so that's going to have to go to the Supreme Court again. So we're waiting to see what's going on there. Meanwhile, this third map lawsuit is taking place. Everything's quite up in the air, and all of this that's happening is impacting when the primary is going to be. Originally scheduled for May 3rd. If you've looked at any of the deliberations today, as I have been, some of the judges are saying maybe we keep May 3rd primary for all the statewides that are impacted by the kind of legislative maps, and then maybe we have a second primary a couple weeks later. The Secretary of State's office thinks that's a big lift for our boards of elections, so there's disagreement all over the place. It is quite a mess. I mean, to call it a mess, I think is about as polite as you can be with this at this point. So maybe we'll know have a little clarity in the next couple of days, but who knows? I've heard that one before.
Well, all I have to say is I'm glad you're keeping an eye on it. Spencer, this has been good. Another great Ohio Tech Report. Thanks to Zendesk. Spencer, thanks for the insight there. And we'll wait to see. And whenever it happens, go vote. That's the takeaway for this. So
absolutely.
Great week, everyone. Have a good weekend. We will talk to you all next time. And have a great day. Bye-bye.